Hello, this is Dr. Aly El-Bahrawy, Professor Emeritus at the Irrigation and Hydraulics Department at the Faculty of Engineering in Shams University. Our lecture today is about types of questions used for large number of students, especially at the beginning years of the faculty. The contents of the lecture will include definition and examples of MCQ, and then questions of the type true, false, and matching questions. Then we are going to have a look at the bubble sheet used the faculty here, and then I will discuss my own type of questions that I am suggesting is called the matrix question. Multiple choice questions. The multiple choice question consists of two parts. The first is a question or incomplete statement called the stem. The second is the list of possible responses, where incorrect answers are also known as distractors. Characteristics of multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions can represent problems involving reasoning and judgment. They can check memory for facts. They can check recognition but not recall, and they use objective rather than subjective scoring. Advantages of multiple choice questions: great flexibility in assessing lower and higher order thinking. Many kinds of types of subject matter are learning, and learning outcomes can be measured. Item analysis can provide diagnostic information. Easy and quick to score. The disadvantages are they are difficult to write. Higher order questions like procedural and metacognitive cannot test ability to recognize and present knowledge. Because most of the questions at the Faculty of Engineering are of the type procedural and metacognitive, I am giving the definition of the two terms. Procedural questions are called how questions, and they are questions whose induced response is typically a fragment more or less large of a procedure. That's to say, a set of coherent instructions designed to reach a goal. Metacognitive practices increase students' ability to transfer or adapt their learning to new contexts and tasks. They do this by gaining a level of awareness above the subject matter, and this kind of questions is what's included in design courses at the Faculty of Engineering, where students are giving data and they are supposed to design something that was not in the textbook. The average response time is 1 minute, where high-level question may take more time. Why I am interested in knowing the average response time? Because I have to design my questions to suit the duration of the examination. Constructing multiple choice questions. Question stem. A multiple choice question consists of a question stem and two or more responses. The question stem is the first part of the question, and it is what the student will read before reading the possible responses. Incorrect response options are also known as distractors. The stem and the responses. The following are guidelines for constructing both parts of your multiple choice questions. When the stem is an incomplete statement, place the blank for the correct choice at the end of the statement. Present the statement as a question, not a statement. Avoid negative questions. If you must use a negative question, when a negative item is used, emphasize the negative word or phrase by underlining, capitalizing, italics. For example, does not, in capital letters. Avoid grammatical clues to the correct answer, such as a or an, as the last word of the stem or plural verbs that match plural choices. If all responses begin with common words or phrases, then place these commonalities at the end of the stem. This is an example. The famous quotation attributed to Patrick Henry from a speech he made to the Virginia Convention on March the 23rd, 1775, reads as follows: "Give me liberty or give me death, weapons, nothing, and life." Write the stem so that students don't have to read all of the choices before they can determine the question. When several items have the same set of choices, consider using a matching question instead. Question responses include at least 4 but not more than 5 possible responses. Provide reasonably plausible choices. The word plausible here means all distractors can be answers. Only one response should be correct. Omit responses that are obviously wrong, and list possible responses in a column, easier to read and answer. Avoid patterns in placing correct answers, such as having C to be correct in more than half of the questions. If a hierarchy exists within the responses, please them in ascending order. That's to say, numerical responses in numerical order and years in chronological order. Use none of the above and all of the above with appropriate discretion. Why? Because they can give away the answer or cause confusion. If all alternative choices aren't worded very carefully. Also, you cannot randomize responses for these types of questions. Avoid language that is similar or identical to important words in the stem. Then we are going to give you a good example of a multiple choice question. The question stem reads: which type of test do college admissions offices use most often in reviewing applications? ETS, CAT, IQ, or SAT? This is an example of a bad multiple choice question where the stem reads: Joan is a top level gymnast on her college team and is anemic. This means that she has not yet experienced puberty, is much shorter than most girls her age, starves herself, or lacks enough iron in her blood. The main error in this articulation is that there is no necessarily a relationship of being a top-level gymnast and being anemic. Multiple answer definition. A multiple select question. This is a subtype of MCQ that the stem reads: which of the following are present in outer space, and between brackets select all correct choices. Is it gas, air, nothing, or radiation? A multiple answer question is followed by a list of choices. Multiple selections are allowed. Advantages of multiple answer questions are: credit can be given for partial correctness, and it increases amount and nature of content assessed in a single question. Possible disadvantages is that there is more than one correct answer. Students are less able to effectively use an elimination strategy. Average response time is the same as the normal MCQ, but high-level questions may take more time. The next slide is an example of my courses. I used MCQ a lot, and this is an example of only 4 questions in my examination on a topic titled History of Infographics. I'm going to read only 2 questions. Nurse Florence Nightingale created this chart: clustered pie, stacked bar, Foxcom, or polar area. The second question is, the chart of Charles Minard does not show the following: arms used, army's directions, location of troops, and freezing temperature. This is the end of the part related to MCQ. We are going now to move to discuss the true-false question. Question. A true-false question is a statement that is either correct or incorrect. Characteristics of these types of question is used to measure ability to identify whether statements or facts, principles, generalizations, relationships, or evaluative statements are correct. They can be factual or can be a thought question that requires reasoning. It can be used in most disciplines. It is used to quickly poll a class as an introduction to a discussion or determine knowledge of topic. Advantages of true-false questions: they are time-efficient administration and scoring. Why? Because they are easy to write, easy to score, and scoring is objective. More information is sampled from a great deal of content. Effective when assessing misconceptions, cause-effect relations. Disadvantages of true-false questions are: they measure only low level of learning, which is remembering and understanding. They need a large number of items to distinguish stronger and weaker knowledge levels. Students have a 50% chance of being correct just by chance. May be perceived as an unfair judgment of learning, and it encourages guessing since there are only 2 alternatives. The average response time is 30 seconds. Constructing true-false questions. The true-false topic. Make questions require application of knowledge as much as possible. Always make certain the statement is unequivocally true or false, meaning that the answers should all can be answers. When using opinion statements, cite the source that will make the complete statement true or false. True-false protocol. Develop approximately the same number of true and false statements. Don't consistently make true statements longer than false statements or vice versa. Avoid negative and complicated statements. Words such as all, only, never, and always give hints about the answers and are usually false. Use them only when the question is to measure understanding. Words such as generally and usually tend to be true, so avoid their use. Don't randomize the response order in true-false questions. Here we give a good example of true-false question. The stem reads, the true-false item is also called an alternative response item. The answer is false. A bad example of a true-false question is, the true-false item, which is favored by all test experts, is also called an alternative response item. The answer is false, but the main error is that the question contains 2 ideas and therefore is confusing. This example from my course about a subject called letter, memo, and email. I'm going to read some questions here. Don't write a salutation for each subject mail. Use a font that has a professional or neutral look. Try sending emails to more than 4 addresses at once. Now we finish with the true-false questions and we go for the matching questions. adjacent lists of related words, phrases, pictures, or symbols. Each item in one list is paired with at least one item in the other list. Matching may be considered a variant of multiple choice in which more than one choice is correct. This is a simple example used for recognition of relationships and making associations, where we have the list on the left hand side is red, yellow, green, and the list on the right hand side is banana, lime, and apple. Matching question can be used for a wide range of subject matter. It can be used to match terms and definitions, symbols and names, questions and answers, cause and effect, parts with functions, procedures with operations, principles with situations in which they apply. Good matching items can easily be converted to multiple choice items. So premises and responses should be homogeneous. Premises here we mean the left list, and responses are the right list. Advantages of matching questions: they are easy to write, easy to score, effective when assessing definitions and relationships, and it is space-saving, objective, compact method to assessing learning targets, and can be developed to use pictures, maps, graphs, etc. Disadvantages of matching questions: not well suited for assessing higher order thinking, doesn't measure any type of interpretation, judgment, or application. Correct matches may be evidence of guessing rather than understanding. Therefore, we make sure there are more definitions than items. If lists contain same number of choices, the last few choices may be giveaways. Can be difficult to develop homogeneous premises and responses. The average response type is from 2 to 5 minutes. Here we speak about constructing matching questions. These are guidelines, as we did before for the MCQ. Directions should provide a clear basis for matching. We include 4 to 10 items in each list. We include approximately 3 extra items from which responses are chosen. We shuffle the order of the items in each column. We use brief statements as a few words as possible in each list. Longer statements should be in the premise or the left list column, and shorter statements in the response, which is the right column. Use a larger or smaller number of responses than premises. That is, avoid perfect matching, which allows the elimination of responses when the test taker is unsure of the correct answer. Format the entire question to fit on the same page. All possible responses should be plausible solutions, as we discussed before. This is a good example of matching question. Column A contains a list of characteristics of questions. On the line to the left of each phrase, write the letter of the question type in column B that best fits the phrase. Each response in column B may be used once, more than once, or not at all. I'm going to read this interesting question. Column A reads, least useful for educational diagnosis, measures greatest variety of learning outcomes, most difficult to score objectively, provides the highest score by just guessing. Column B includes multiple choice, true, false, short answer, and you can see the correct answers is put between brackets at the left hand side of the left column. This is a bad example of a matching question. Column A lists several phrases related to Pennsylvania. To the left of each phrase, write the letter of the response in column B that best fits the phrase. You can see here, I will read this example again because it is important. In column A, Pennsylvania's official state flower, Pennsylvania's official state bird, major steel production city, 2003 Penn State student population. Column B is ruffed grouse, Pittsburgh, Mountain Laurel, over 80,000, and Erie. What are the main errors? Directions about how to handle choices in column B are unclear. The responses are not homogeneous, which means answers for 1, 2, and 4 are obvious, having only the 2 cities as choices for number 3. Here is an example of my work. As you can see, I put A instead of B, where I had the longer statement in the right-hand side column and the shorter ones on the left-hand side. And I used premises, numbers larger than, the responses are larger than the premises, where I have about 8 statements and 10 choices. Here we talk about the bubble sheet. The bubble sheet at the Faculty of Engineering, as you can see, consists of the bubble sheet. Bubble sheet can have different designs, but this design in the Faculty of Engineering, Ain Shams University, as you can see from the logo of the university, and it has 4 different parts. The first part is contains some instructions in Arabic language, and the student has to write his name, his program, his signature, and the course code, and examination form type. We have here 6 possible types, and the student code has to be also made with pencil, so that the machine that reads the bubble sheet can understand the code. The second part has to do with MCQ. In the MCQ questions, we have 120 questions, and we have 5 possible answers. The second section and the third section and the fourth are allocated to true-false, where we have 10 questions, and we have a section for matching. As you can see, now we finished discussion of available types of questions and the bubble sheet used at the Faculty of Engineering. Here I'm introducing my new question type. I call it a matrix question. It is suggested by me, and it has similarity with matching questions, and it can summarize a lot of information. It's easy to mark and can be incorporated in a bubble sheet with a slight change in the design. And this is an example from my lecture on formal report, where I put the elements of formal report in the first row, and then I put the content details of these elements in the first column, and the student has to mark the intersection or matching between the elements in the first row and the elements in the first column. And of course, we can have multiple marks in the same row or in the same column. By the end of my lecture, I'm going to give you a small quiz. I'm going to ask you in the shown bubble sheet of Faculty of Engineering how many matching questions are allowed, and how can you design a bubble sheet for the matrix question suggested by me. I hope you enjoyed my lecture, and good luck.